Statement of the known facts. In San Francisco, last April, a man in his early 20s was hit by a city bus on Van Ness Avenue and died before reaching the hospital. There were many witnesses and the investigation was routine. The death was officially recorded as accidental. The victim aroused some interest because the lack of identification was so complete it looked purposeful. He had a new billfold with over $800 but no identifying cards, no cleaning or laundry marks on his clothes, and there was no record of his fingerprints. I am a reporter for the San Francisco Post-Intelligencer. When the accident occurred, I chanced to be driving behind the bus. A patrol car was also in the block. The police and I reached the accident at the same time and, while we were crawling under the bus to get to the already unconscious man, I found a red book on the street about 4 feet from the victim. Thinking it might be an angle on the story, I started to put it in my purse until I had time to look at it. One of the officers saw what I was doing and insisted in taking it from me. I let him have it at the time, but, as the connection with the deceased had not been established, I later filed a claim to it as its finder. On the book were no traces of the victim's fingerprints, but they could easily have been destroyed by mine or those of the police officer, and I am frankly of the opinion that the book was on the young man's person at the time of the accident. However, because there was no conclusive evidence to that effect, a quirk of law makes it mine. It is now in my possession. It is a red cloth-bound diary, 6 by 9 inches in size, with full pages for each day of the year. The front pages up to January 21 had been torn out and the book then reused without regard to printed dates. The context of the diary makes it clear that if dates had been used they would not have been those of our calendar. At the time I found the book, a folded letter in an unsealed, unaddressed envelope was closed within its pages. A photograph of the letter showing the handwriting, and a photograph of the diary were part of my story on the accident, which appeared on page 1 of my paper. For reasons that are obvious from their contents, both the letter and the diary appear intended for personal delivery by the accident victim as a precaution against their falling into the wrong hands. An additional reason, that of introducing the young Manto, the girl to whom the letter was addressed, appears a high probability. Both letter and diary are reprinted here in full without editing. Only one thing has been added. The separate, undated entries in the diary have been numbered consecutively like chapters in a book.
Dear Peg, your moment for a big decision has arrived. You are to decide whether you want to join me here, but I can't tell you where I am. My diary will give you some idea of what my life is like, but even that you can't have to mull over at leisure. You can read it only when you're with Douglas, who's bringing it to you. He won't leave it with you even for a short while for fear someone else might see it and become curious. You've probably wondered why I couldn't tell you where I was going when I left with Kirk. If you come, Douglas will bring you and you'll have to trust him completely. As I trusted Kirk, you will not know where you're going. I've often thought of you since that night we said a quick goodbye in the hallway, and wished I could see you. I think you'd be happier here and I'd like terribly to see you, but I don't want to persuade you. It should be entirely your choice. Think it over carefully. It has to be a one-time decision, no turning back. If you don't come you'll probably never see me or hear from me again, but, whatever you decide, you may be sure that you'll always have my love, Valerie.